Again, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Salt and Sauce podcast looking at Hearts and Hibs. We've got two best mates who support either club on the pod today. Of course, Robert, a Hibs fan, and myself as a Hearts fan. Robert, I can see you've already got a bit of a smirk on your face. Care to explain why?
Well, just about if Carlsberg did weekends for Hibs, this was one of them. And we've not had many of them this season, so I need to enjoy it.
Yeah. And actually, if I could go slightly further back, we started the pod last January, and to be fair, you had a lot more enjoyable podcasts than I did for the second half of last season. So
Yeah.
it's evening out, I'd say, over time. We'll start with that because obviously I would say your favourite result of the weekend was probably the Hearts result away to Livingston.
Well, don't
Um,
know about that, but it,
well, it's
it
closer
did
than
no
it should
harm
be.
to my mood, Stuart.
So obviously, on the off chance you've not seen it, 2-2 away to Livingston, obviously disappointing. Like no getting away from that. It's really disappointing. There's a few things that make it a bit more disappointing. Obviously, Celtic winning and getting a late goal. Rangers, who Dundee United nearly pegged them back a couple of times, but again, Rangers went on and got the victory there. Despite, I mean, I only caught the first half of that game. Despite Dundee United were the better team, certainly in the first half. So things like that make it all the more frustrating. Um, it was quite a funny game though. Did you catch the game? Did you? I don't know if you managed to watch all of it
No,
live.
I caught all of
I thought you might.
it.
And it was a funny game. Obviously, we started poorly. The game wasn't exactly old enough to say that it had been coming because I mean they scored after 4.5 minutes. I wouldn't say it had been coming. That said, the way it was going, they were getting the ball forward really quickly, Livingston, and we were really struggling to get close to them. And the ball was just landing at their feet every time. They were through through hard work and anticipation and things like that. So when it fell to Stevie May, I wasn't surprised to see him score it. Like I say, I don't think there'd been enough of a balance of play to say they'd been all over us. It's only 4 minutes, but we deserved to concede at that point because we were really poor at the back. There was, to be fair, after the goal, there was probably a couple more minutes where it was like that. But in all honesty, I thought after the goal, we took complete control of the game. It was really bizarre. We had three or four, maybe even five chances. If you look at Kingsley had one, Braga had a couple, Shanklin, not really a chance because it was a poor shot, but he could have played Kazaridis in and we'd had a good chance. Or you'd expect Shanklin to strike it better. All of these were chances, and it was we were only at the 20-minute mark, and we could have been ahead already in terms of chances. Um, and then we do get the goal, and I think even as Hibs fan, you'll admit it was a good goal.
Yep.
Leonard anticipates the clearance. It's a poor clearance actually, to be fair, but Leonard anticipates it. It's a great cross, and Shanklin, he's a brilliant striker, and he headers it in very comfortably. Um, and I was at the game, and it obviously it just went crazy when that equaliser went in. A lot of relief having gone 1-0 down. And then the game carried on like that. I honestly thought the way it went, see, even whilst we were 1-0 down, and obviously especially at 1-1, I thought, oh, right, we're all over them here. We're actually playing a bit better. What a difference having Shanklin back in. He's linking things up nicely. Devlin's bringing good energy in and all that. Um, and I honestly thought we were playing, without being brilliant, I just thought we were clearly making enough chances to go on and win the game. And so it looked even more like that, obviously, in the second half, and in crazy blizzard conditions. Um, Kizaridis to the back post, Shankland, well, one header, and then second header, clever, loops it to the back post. And I've said to you before, Braga has got a good leap on him for a guy who's not exactly a big guy. Great leap and really powers the header. And he's scored three or four goals like that at St Mirren and Falkirk this season, where he's done that. Um, and again, obviously, crowd going crazy. And I just thought, right there, we've got the lead, and we've been definitely the better team, creating more chances. That's it. We've avoided the banana skin at this point. So it was just so disappointing that obviously we the goal itself is disappointing because it's a poor pass from Halkett. I actually forget who it was that could have come to the ball. It might have been Chesnikov. Could have come to the ball a bit better. Either one of them should do better there. and then they break and score. And Newbley actually should score, mishits it, and it goes to Smith at the back post. He scored against us at Ammanville in the first game, and Kingsley can't do enough to stop it from going in on the line. Just it was just so bad. It was just a really bad goal to concede defensively. Livingston do what they need to do. Um, that was disappointing. But what was also disappointing was I really felt like we took the foot off the gas. I still felt like we had a couple of chances after that, but truth be told, from I'd say probably at least the last 25 minutes, Livingston were getting the ball forward more than we were. They were not so much creating chances, but half chances they were getting, and they were able to be in a position where it's no surprise they were time wasting after 5 minutes when they went 1-0 up. That's what they do. They were, but they were in a position to do that because they had the ball. So you can run it into the corner, or you can get throw-ins up the pitch and run the clock down. But it honestly,
And
if
sure,
any,
you were on Sky Sports.
no, I know, I know. I'm glad I wasn't doing anything too embarrassing. Robbie Muirhead, Hearts reject, it was taking ages to take a throw in, and I've gone like that in the background. So it wasn't too embarrassing. It could have been a lot worse.
I saw you going mental, like jumping up and down and everything.
I've not got the energy in me to be doing that. Um, but it was just like there was a lot of moments of going like this. Right, come on, get the game going. That said, I'm not using that as like an excuse or anything. Obviously, if anyone was going to get a winner, the poor thing for me is that it looked more likely it was going to be Livingston, even though
Yeah.
they weren't creating lots of chances or anything. We weren't getting the ball forward. We weren't getting the ball in the box when we should have been really chasing the victory at that point. It was just a bizarre end to the game. So a frustrating game from that point of view. Firstly, that I thought we had done enough once we got into the lead to keep going like that, but no, we took the foot off the gas. Really disappointing. And then secondly, that when they did equalise and we did let them back into the game, we weren't then throwing the kitchen sink at it, or at least some other parts of the kitchen anyway. We were barely throwing anything at it to get back into the game. So
I think credit needs to go to Livy for that though a little bit because I was kind of saying certainly against Hibs, they were dreadful, and look, I know they got a good result against us, but they showed no ambition at all in the game really to do anything. Whereas I actually thought they did pose a threat to Hearts
no, they did,
yesterday,
they
and I
did.
think they did actually. Okay, Hearts weren't at their best, but I actually thought that they played okay.
Hearts are living.
Livy,
Yeah. Well, no, but this is a funny thing. For big chunks of it, and look, obviously, I wouldn't say Hearts were at their best, but we were actually better than we had been for a while. I'd say, from about minute 10 to minute 50, 55, we were fine, without being great. We were the better team and doing enough. But you're right, Livy were definitely more like adventurous and forward thinking than
mm,
certainly the game against Hibs, which was that was the bus was broken down rather than just parked at that point.
yeah,
But this is what gets me. So this is what I was going to say is that against Hibs, I felt like they defended their box well that day.
mm,
Hibs finishing was poor because you did get in a couple of times, and Hibs
yeah,
need to hold their hands up to that. But there were times Livy were just defending their box and getting heads. This for me is Livingston didn't even really need to do that too much with us.
mm,
Like I say, but in that sort of minute 10 to 50 window, they weren't doing that great. Maybe because we were a bit more forward thinking, but we were getting chances here and there, and we got 2 goals as well. So I don't think they could argue they were defending their box well at that point. And outside of those times, they didn't need to defend their box because we were just passing it side to side and not or backwards and not making them defend. Because
yeah.
actually, what we showed is when we did make them defend, they weren't actually very good at it, and we got a couple of goals and probably should have had 3 or 4 at that point. 3 or 4 maybe excessive, or 4 maybe excessive, but certainly a few chances. Chesnikov had another one to make it 3-1 and things like that. We could have opened up a wee gap on them. But that's what happens if one, you don't take your chances, two, you don't keep that pressure up, and then three, you make sloppy passes and let them back into the game.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I mean, I thought when Livy went 1-0 up, I was thinking, right, let's see what you're made of then, Hearts. And then when they came back, then started the second half really, really well. And when you got 2-1 ahead, I was like, right, well, that's it.
That's
that
that.
you were probably going to go and do third. I thought that would take the sting out of Livy, and I just thought if it doesn't stay like that, then you'll add to it. I certainly thought that was the game
Yeah,
over
yeah,
at that point. I just didn't see Livy having it in them, but Hearts kind of did a Hibs that way and kind of sat back a bit.
yeah.
Just kind
They
of,
did.
it was almost like you were taking the 2-1.
Took our foot off the gas big time.
And Livy, to be fair to them, obviously have a decent team spirit because they didn't give up and they kept throwing bodies forward. Like, I wouldn't say it was with any brilliant play or anything. They were just trying their best, obviously, to get back in the game, high balls, that type of thing, physicality. That Newbley guy's a right
Oh
hand.
man.
He's a right handful.
Oh, you'd know if you'd marked him, wouldn't you? You would know about it at the
Yeah,
end of the game.
WWF. But like he's a handful. He's a big unit of a boy. And yeah, I was really, really surprised from 2-1. I did call it a draw before the game. I just want to say that.
No, I've
Um,
been thinking about that for ever since the game finished. I thought, oh bugger, I think Robert said a draw.
I
That's
did,
the
I
worst.
did,
That's the worst bit about it.
I did. But certainly in game, I thought the game was gone. I was like 2-1. Hearts keep, quite a big advantage, and I was just like, right, the game's done. And then when Livy scored, obviously, I was up and I was like, "Come on, Bartley, go on, big man!" like that, giving it big licks. And Isaac was like, "Did Hibs score?" I was like, "No, but just as good."
Hibs aren't even playing. I don't care.
Um,
It's look, obviously it's a kick in the teeth.
yeah,
Um, it's obviously some Hearts, like any club, have these daft fans who are calling McInnes a bottle merchant and all that. And I think for so many reasons that's so stupid. One, we're still top of the league, and that
mm,
that has to be remembered. And every club in the country would take our points total right now. So that that should be remembered. Um, and but also as I've said before, like we're way ahead of where we should be. I would have been so happy with a comfortable third this season. I'm not saying that, obviously at this stage, if we finished third, it would feel disappointing. But it's important to remember that the realistic, or what felt like a realistic goal at the start of the season, was
mm.
third. And we thought we'll be battling with Hibs. You probably would have said at the time Aberdeen, although they're terrible now. Maybe a Dundee United or something like that. Um, and you think, right, well, do you know what? I think we've got enough in us to get above Hibs and Aberdeen, and that'll be great, and we'll take European football and all that. So it's just wild talk, and a lot of these fans are getting too used to being top of the league, and maybe that's part of the problem. We've been top of the league for a long time, minus 20 hours or something like that when Rangers beat Dundee United. We've been top of the league since September, I think it is, and you know God help us if Hearts fans are starting to get entitled, given that we've not won a league title in 60 years, and people are feeling entitled because we've been top of the league for a few months in a row.
I agree with you, Stuart, but I also think that there's context to it. And obviously, like I agree with you, Hearts are way ahead of where they wanted to be in things, but I think given just how far ahead you were, I think was it 16 points at one stage. It was at least 12, 13 points
Yeah,
anyway.
it was
The old
16, and
firm
they had a game in hand.
Rangers and Celtic were like buried at that point,
No,
and
that's not quite true. No, Rangers felt buried. Celtic. I don't think have ever been more than 6 or 7 points behind us
well, no, they were nine at one point, were they not?
with a game in hand.
With the game in hand, but still, the way they were playing, like I don't think anyone gave them much of a hope, and I think your away form has been pretty
We,
worrying for
yeah,
Hearts,
yeah.
and in a title run-in to lose points, not to your nearest rivals. Obviously, you lost to Rangers and things, but you kind of recovered from that, got yourself back in a commanding position, and then to lose to, is it Killy, St Mirren, and
Well, drawing with
draw
Livingston.
with Livy.
No,
I
of
think
course,
I think
absolutely.
that
But
that's where the context is that I think like if I was a Hearts fan, I could take losing like points to Rangers and Celtic because you're like right, okay, bigger budgets and everything, but to go to bottom of the league with a bit of pressure on you, and obviously in the context of the last few games, your lead's kind of evaporated. You've got a standard lead just now, but my word, if you don't win it this year, I just don't see Hearts having another chance like this in a long time. And I think that that's the context, to be fair to those Hearts fans, um, of where some of their disappointments come from. That you've had a chance to really like stick the knife in, and it feels like
Yeah.
you've just let Rangers and Celtic back in it.
I don't think that's fair though. I don't think we've let them back into it. I mean, before the weekend, if you look at the last 10 games, Celtic and Rangers each had gained 1 point on us over the last 10 games worth of form. That's not big. Because and you're talking about, okay, like obviously we don't want to lose to St Mirren, we don't want to lose to Kilmarnock, and we don't want to draw to Livingston. Um, Rangers got the exact same result at Vale. Celtic lost to Dundee United. They lost to Dundee. Rangers drew with Hibs recently. They're all dropping points. Okay, obviously at the weekend they've now gained both 3 points on us over the last 11 games, I guess. Um, but that
Oh,
it's
more than
not.
that, Stuart.
I looked it up yesterday. I looked it up before the weekend. I was like, it feels like.
How's that if Rangers were that far behind and now they're only a
Well,
point?
but that's only over 10 games. You've got to remember they went on a big winning streak where the only game they lost was at Tynecastle, and they
Mm,
won. They won something like 9 out of 10 games. So yeah, look, if you want to go back over 20 games, they've gained a lot of points. But if you're going back over 20 games, I mean, you're talking over half the season at that
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
I get what you
that's
mean.
that's not just a wee run of form at that point. That's
Yeah,
and then why don't if you're picking those 20 games, well, why not pick the first 20 games when Hearts were
yeah,
brilliant
yeah.
and picking up lots of points? So
But the thing I keep saying is momentum and its
yeah,
timing, because
no,
as I said,
absolutely.
losing points to Livy at the start of the season, okay, it's not great, but you can get over it. Losing it now when you're so close and you've been ahead and everyone's been chasing you, you have to admit it's a different feeling.
No, it is. Momentum's. I've always said this, but momentum is so important. And maybe a random example, but I remember people talking about when Klopp first came into Liverpool and they were like drawing with West Brom and stuff like that. And I was like, well, and everyone was like, no, but like the club, it feels good and it feels like things are moving forward. And
Yeah,
and the same with Arteta at Arsenal versus I can't remember who it was. It was Man U manager at the time, but they were saying like it doesn't or Chelsea manager it doesn't feel good at the time. And so momentum is important. And there's no doubt that we've stuttered a bit recently without question. But like I say, before the weekend, it was actually they hadn't really gained that much on us at all. We throughout those 10 games were missing Shankland and Devlin, are without question our two biggest players this season. Well, sorry, maybe there is a question to that with like Braga, but certainly two of our biggest players this season. So to have only lost 1 point on each of them over that time, the irony is, of course, they were both back over the weekend and we dropped double that amount over one
mm,
weekend. So, look, obviously it's not been a good weekend. I would never argue that. And obviously, given that we've had like not a taste of winning because we've not won anything, but like it's looked possible for so long to not win it. Of course, I would be disappointed. Like there's no doubt about that. Um, that's you're disappointed if I would say if you support a club every weekend you don't win, you feel disappointed. Even
no,
if Hibs
but
go,
yeah, this season, as you say, the first time in 40 years to really
yeah, oh,
have
absolutely.
a huge chance at doing it and to be favourites because of the points tally and because of the form and the
Mhm.
consistency, to then finish second or even to finish third, which isn't out of the realms of possibility
Not at
either.
all. Not at all.
Um, it would feel like a big opportunity missed. And that's not to say, it's obviously a better season than last season, but I just think to be ahead so long, I think it'd be different if, let's say, you were in third for most of the season and you were hitting form now, like, and you were kind of, it feels like Hearts are going the other way. And I'm not just putting my green specs on there. I think
No, no.
it just feels like for so long the momentum's been with you. And even last weekend when we were doing the pod and you asked me, I was thinking, well, looking at the table, Hearts are away to Livy, and then we're pretty much one game before the split. You'd back Hearts to probably beat Motherwell. Difficult game, but you know what? At Tynecastle, good record. And that's why I said my chance would be, how worried am I about Hearts winning the league? And I put it at 80.
Mhm.
I just thought Hearts would win, and I thought Rangers or Celtic might slip up. But it just shows week to week, how close and how tight it is because in the space of a week, Celtic are back in it all of a sudden. They're
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
points, and Rangers are only a point behind with a better goal difference. So it's
No, it's look 100%. It would be disappointing. There's no getting away from that, and it's a great opportunity. I don't buy into this idea of we'll never have a better chance. I don't think we'll. I think if we don't win it this season, next season will be a stretch because I think clubs will be looking out for us a bit more. They'll
and
be
I think
treating us.
Rangers and Celtic won't allow what's
No,
happened this
I was going
season.
to say that. Yeah, other
Yeah,
clubs will treat us a bit differently, but Rangers and Celtic will splash some money.
big time.
I do maintain though that I think this is such a great model that we've got in. I mean, you've seen how well it's worked already this season. With the
Yeah, although your
signings.
Jan your January signings weren't, I think that was a chance to really kick on, and I I'm looking at those January signings that Hearts have made, and I'm like, have any of them really made like obviously your summer window was really good,
Mm,
and that's where you did most of your business, but I think if you don't win it as well, you're gonna look back in January and you're gonna think we could have really pushed the boat out a bit.
maybe it's getting. I believe we had to change our plans quite a lot last minute as well with the Shanklin and Devlin injuries. There's no
Mm,
way we were going to sign Mark Leonard. He's a good player. He frustrates me a little bit. I think he slows the game down quite a lot, but he's clearly quite a good player. Um, but like we didn't need to sign anyone like that because Devlin was doing so well in the middle. Why would we sign anyone for that position? So
yeah.
maybe we're going to get someone else, and we think we better get Leonard now. And similar, the Rogers Mato. I mean, again, we've not really seen him on the pitch.
Mm.
Not sure what's going on there, but again, we pushed that forward a bit sooner than we might have. We were going to get him on a 6 month, well, what's it called, a pre-contract originally. But then Shanklin gets injured, and you think, right, well, let's press ahead with that rather than maybe targeting another position that we wanted to target. So
Possibly.
honestly, it has impacted a bit as well. I would say with that, but no, I think we've had successes with it without question. The idea is, I mean, similar to Brighton, it's about making money off them, and then you've got more money to spend on better players, and there's always a player in reserve ready to come in.
I saw
That's the plan.
a few Hearts fans online a bit annoyed at McInnes, for the tactics. Any
Uh, yeah, I
thoughts on
mean,
that?
in the sense that we took the foot off the gas. I don't know if that's because it got to the point when Shanklin and Devlin, who have been out for so long, tired, and they are such a big part of our game. Shanklin in particular. That said, I didn't really notice a massive drop off in his performance, so I don't know if that would be the case or not. And Devlin's always got plenty of energy. Um, but I mean, McInnes has always been a bit more safety first. He's
I
always
saw
been.
McCart getting a bit of stick. Um,
McCart came back from an injury recently, and he's not been the same player. He did quite well when he first came in, and I believe he's well thought of and things like that. But he's looked quite nervous in some of the games. He's also had a lot of games being played out of position, playing
is
at left back.
Beningame injured?
He was, and then suspended, and then
Right.
he's just not been getting back in. I think Leonard's been in that spot, but Leonard will be suspended now.
That's what I was saying. I saw a few people saying that Leonard and Devlin, they're
Yeah,
like they can't play together.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, but I think there's only one way you really find that out, and that is in games. And
Mm,
maybe the Leonard sending off, not the worst thing because actually at the start of the season we were doing so well with Beningame and Devlin in there,
yeah.
and
I mean, for
Leonard.
me, Beningame would always be one
I
of my
know I
favorite
love him. I
players
love
in the
him.
midfield for Hearts.
And he's out of contract, and I don't think we're offering him a new deal. Which
Yeah.
again, you've got to trust the Jamestown thing. If you're going to go for it, either go all in or you don't. So
Imagine
I'll be
if he
sad.
came to Hibs.
Oh, yeah, I'd be gutted. I'd be so gutted. But listen, you would take him.
Oh, absolutely, I'd take him. Yeah,
He's a
I
good,
would.
he's a good player.
So
So
Stuart, what you said last week when I asked you, are you going to do it? And you said yes. Do you still feel like that, or are you more kind of like that was very damaging?
I honestly don't think that was very damaging. Not very damaging. Obviously, look, getting 1 point rather than three is mathematically damaging. Um, what I have been thinking about more and more is the momentum of it, and my head's going in two
Mm,
directions. All of our games now, because we've got Motherwell, are against top six.
yeah.
We do have the best top six record by quite some distance in the league.
When
Um,
you were playing better, arguably. But
no,
yeah,
exactly, and that's where I'm split. I'm really split. Do we? Is it a case that we'll raise our game more?
mm,
You know, we've outplayed Celtic every single time we've played them this season, and beat them twice, and should have beat them a third time. Rangers outplayed them twice, and we weren't bad at Ibrox. They deserved to win, but we certainly weren't bad. Um, Hibs mixed. It's fair to say pretty rubbish games in all honesty. But again, we've picked up more than we've dropped. Motherwell are the funny one. We're the only team we're yet to beat in the league. Falkirk are yet to score a goal against us. It just depends what is true here. Is it that we're losing momentum? And again, I think that's been blown out of proportion a little bit in terms of many points they've gained more recently. Because I would argue that Rangers have lost a bit of momentum. Celtic have certainly not got a great deal of momentum. Um, so yeah, it depends. Are we going to get the Hearts that have been brilliant against the top six, or are we going to get the Hearts that have lost a bit of momentum recently? Which is why it's difficult. If my heart says obviously yeah we'll do it, my head is probably thinking no we probably won't.
yeah. I was at 80, I think I said 80%
Yeah,
worried
yeah, yeah.
last week, sorry. I'm probably about 45 now.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
I think
still a bit of me that thinks I don't trust Rangers and Celtic
this is it.
because they've been
Honestly,
up and down. But the other half of me is looking at it and thinking, well, Hearts are losing a bit of momentum. Okay, you're still top, but timing's everything. And I actually think that Motherwell will take something off you um,
I
at
certainly.
Tynecastle, and I think that Celtic and Rangers will probably win, and I think that that is just going to tip things. I said Hearts need a few points in the bag to be ahead of Celtic and Rangers going into the split for me to be favourites,
Mhm.
but to be behind Rangers and Celtic going into you're going to have three. Is it three away games Hearts have?
Three away games.
One of them at Easter Road as well.
Mhm.
I I would back Rangers or Celtic or both to pick up more points than Hearts in that running. That's my justification.
Based on what?
Based on the last few games and based on momentum, I
Yeah,
think that Hearts have played their best football this season, and I think letting Celtic Rangers back into it, and whatever way you say it, they've played themselves back into it. I think Rangers are now finding a bit of form. Celtic somehow are still in it. They should be way out of it, but somehow I think the Martin O'Neill factor has kept them in it. To be honest, because they've been atrocious. They really have been. So for them to be 3 points behind, but they're getting the job done. So I just think Celtic have been there as well. They've been there. They've done that. Rangers, obviously, if you look at their starting team on paper, it's still a decent team. Like it's still a really good side. I've said that about that Rangers team. So,
the amount of money these guys have. Yeah, of
oh
course.
no, absolutely. And I just think the pressure has got to Hearts.
Well,
Genuinely.
maybe, and it's like I say, we've earned the pressure a little bit by putting ourselves in that position. Um, But I honestly think we've got loads of reasons to be confident going into the top six. Our record against the other teams. For me, there's also, I know what you're saying. Like, could Motherwell take something from Tynecastle? Yep. And could Rangers and Celtic both win? Yep. And suddenly we're in second, and we're chasing. Um, or even with a big goal swing down to third, actually potentially. But
We take massive. Celtic are quite a bit behind.
five goals, five
Oh,
goals.
true,
So,
actually. I thought
so
it was more.
not massive.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, still unlikely. But again,
Mm,
look, could you see Rangers even drawing away at Falkirk? Oh, definitely, 100%, definitely. That could easily happen. And could we beat Motherwell at home? Yeah, of course we could.
mm.
I'm not saying that we're massive favourites, but you'd have to say Motherwell have gone off the boil a bit recently,
Yeah.
which is good for Hibs, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so again, suddenly could we be 4 points clear of Rangers at the end of this weekend? Yeah, maybe.
Mm.
But this is where it's exciting. Is I
You just don't
honestly
know.
no exactly. And Rangers have done well not to lose many games. They've only lost
Mm.
when Hearts have beat them twice. That's the only ones they've lost. But they keep drawing. They've drawn a lot. You know, Hearts have won 5 of the last 10. Celtic and Rangers won 6 of the last 10.
Mm.
It's not like either of them are really motoring massively ahead.
No, and look, I'm that's why I'm not saying like Hearts aren't going to win it.
Yeah.
It's just if someone had a gun to my head and said, "Are
Oh
they
no.
going to?"
Yeah.
At this stage, I'd be like, "No."
No, I
I'll,
get that.
I'll,
I get that. And I think
I'll,
a lot
yeah,
of people will be starting to say that. Um. Anyway, listen. Look, let's talk quickly then about Hibs, because actually one of the things I mentioned there is Motherwell have gone off the boil,
yeah,
and suddenly you're 3 points behind them. And Motherwell have statistically the most difficult fixture as they go to the league leaders at the weekend. So I'm sure you'll be rooting for Hearts in that one. Um, but the reason you were able to close the gap is obviously you rather comfortably beat Kilmarnock 3-0.
yeah. We did, and for once we were clinical.
Yeah,
I've been I've been saying it all season, and there's only been a few games where we have actually been clinical. And what a difference it makes. And for all the criticism, for all the negativity, certainly I've been here just because I think it's a season of missed opportunities. I think our squad is good enough to be where Hearts are. Genuinely, if we'd got it right, and I think if we hadn't left our January signings till when we did, if we had some of the reinforcements in maybe in the summer, and did a bit more business there, I think we really could have pushed on this season. So it's tinged with disappointment in how we performed in the cups. Definitely think we could have got a Hamden trip out of it. Um, and I think the way the league's been to have not put together consistency. I think that's where the criticism comes from, and I think it's fair enough. And I think Gray would acknowledge that. But also, I do think he's been a bit unlucky. We've been without Mulligan for a lot of the season. Nicky Cadden, one of our most important players, he's not been there as well. So and I did say a few weeks ago, I think it's time up for Gray because I just couldn't see us doing anything. We were heading,
yeah,
at one point it looked like we could possibly finish bottom six, but thankfully,
turned it around
we
a bit.
we did enough that way. But you know, all of a sudden we're back in it. And with the criticism he has, I have to praise him because Saturday I kind of didn't know what to expect. We didn't show much attacking threat against Motherwell, and we did against Kilmarnock. And I was a bit surprised to see Scarlett start, to be honest. I thought he might go with Suto and Elding just because they've been scoring, but
Mm.
actually it turned out okay. We
I heard he
score
played
after
quite well.
what was that, sorry?
I heard Scarlett was playing well.
Yeah, like he did okay, good running and stuff. Again, I don't think he's a finisher,
No.
but Elding and Suto know where the back of the net is, so
Yeah.
that's really good. And again, the recruitment great. They need to be praised with doing good business in January, even though it was too late. Um, so the first goal comes after 13 seconds. I want to say it's either Barlaser or McGrath plays the ball through to Paslak, and I really like Paslak. Every time I've seen him,
Yeah.
he's got a really good pedigree in terms of European football. He takes it in his stride. He doesn't panic, and this has been my criticism over the last few games. When we get to the final third, that pass would have been overhit,
Yeah.
or they would have got a foot in. He just plays it perfectly to Eldon. Eldon takes a really nice touch and just puts it away. No questions asked. Just put it away.
He looks good.
Um,
He
and
looks good,
after
Elding.
absolutely, and he's what? Is he 19?
Yeah, yeah, no, he does. He certainly looks a
Like
good player.
he really looks good, and he's full of confidence. He's come to a new league. Whatever anyone says, the League of Ireland to the Scottish League, it's a huge step up.
Mm.
The league here is not the league of Ireland. It's not great. And I know that just from watching a few games. Now, don't get me wrong, compare it to like St Mirren, Ross County, yeah. But if you compare it to, the top four, five, six teams, you'd notice a big difference.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a more physical league as well, the Scottish League,
But
higher
remember, he's
tempo.
only doing it for a mid-table club. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he gets a big move.
But no, he did really well. Really
Yeah.
good finish. 13 seconds. I'd barely taken my seat on the sofa, and it was 13 seconds. I was
Aye,
like, oh,
that's right.
brilliant.
It was. I had it on the radio, open all mics and all that, and they were just like some games hadn't even kicked off yet, and
Yeah,
you were 1-0 up.
Hibs one up. So look, great start. And to be fair, that opening 20 is the best we've played in months. It really looked like we were going to. I'd say that's the best we've played the opening 20 since the opening 20 against Hearts
Yeah, yeah,
ESO.
yeah. The derby. I thought you were. Yeah.
We were just playing really well, really up for it, passing it about, everyone wanting the ball, full of confidence. Um, and we get the second. Again, a really, really nice team goal goes out to Obita. And again, we were missing Nicky Cadden as well, which I actually think turned out to be a blessing because we've been so reliant on him. We're so easy to figure out when he plays, I think,
Mm.
that actually changing it up a bit, I think, kind of worked in our favour. So ball goes out to Obita, and again, Obita just whips it across, and there's Paslak just to put it in to make it 2-0. And you're thinking, right, at this point, let's go on now, give Kelly a real pasting, 3-4, 5-0.
Yeah.
But I would say they get a goal. Obviously, it's an offside goal. I totally don't understand that rule, by the way. That I thought because Obita was standing off the pitch,
I know it was a funny one,
I
but
don't get it.
well, what they were saying on the radio was, I've actually not seen a great angle of it. I only saw the highlights of the game, and it didn't show uh, like a good replay of it. But it was to do with the goalkeeper might have been further forward. So even if Obita was counted or discounted, he's still offside because obviously normally when someone's offside, it has to be two players behind them, but one of them's usually
Yeah,
the goalie. But I
yeah,
believe the goalie might have been a bit further forward.
because Obita is off the pitch.
Well, no, well, no. Just even if you count Obita, he's only one player, and the
Oh, I
goalie
see
is.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah,
has to be
yeah,
two players, but one of
yeah,
them's normally the goalie. So if the goalie's slightly further forward, so I was told on the radio that's what it was, but like I say, I've not seen that whether that's true or not.
yeah.
I'm happy to put forward the argument that Hibs got away with one though.
No, I don't think we did. I think by whatever the rule is,
Yeah,
it's legit. So
you
anyway,
didn't
look,
even understand it 2 seconds ago.
we'll take it. I understand it fully now.
Yeah, right.
So no, look, I was really happy that obviously that did get
Yeah,
disallowed
yeah, of
because
course, yeah, yeah,
at that stage we just kind of take our foot off the gas a bit, and I was kind of saying, "Oh no, we've seen this before. We've actually seen it before against Killy
yeah, 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 yeah.
when we somehow drew that
At
game.
Easter Road, yeah,
The first part of the season, I was thinking deja vu, but you know, Killy in the middle of the park were really good, but I would say attacking wise, it wasn't like our keeper was having to make a lot of saves. Um, we weren't posing as much of a threat. And actually, what I need to credit Gray with is that kind of last 15, 20 minutes because I could feel, and I'm sure Hibs fans that were at the game will tell us better, but you could feel a nervousness kicking in.
sure,
Certainly, I was sitting there and I was thinking, they get a goal here. This game's not won, and it looks like we're taking it. But actually, the likes of Hanley, Paslak, I thought Barlaser was really good. Thought Obita was really good. And then what Gray did is he made the subs at the right time.
mm,
Um, we bring on Campbell, we bring on Suto, and we bring on Boyle. Three decent subs to be able to be making at that stage. This is why I say Boyle and Campbell, they still have something to offer. It's just they need to be used, I think, at the right times.
yeah, yeah,
And I think this was just one occasion where Gray got it right because they come on, and I think it's Campbell, I want to say, plays it out to an actual forward pass, plays it out to Boyle, and Boyle actually passes it
Oh, to Hampshire.
and actually passes it to Hibshire. And I don't know how many goals we would have had and where we would be, certainly a lot higher in the table, if Boyle had made those right choices in the earlier part of the season because so many times he should have cut it back and he shot. And anyway, we've been there. He gets it right this time, and there's big Suto sliding in. He didn't have to slide in, but he slid in and knocks it in. And Hibs badge over to the crowd.
Yeah.
Love him.
He's turned into a bit of a fan's favourite, Big Suit, wasn't he? He's
Yeah,
a bit of
he
a
just
bit of a hammer thrower.
I don't know. Sure, he's actually a good footballer.
Well, sorry, I've not seen him as much as you have. Certainly against Hearts, he just chucked himself about, and
Yeah, that wasn't the bet, but then again,
it wasn't a
it
good
wasn't a
game.
great game. But
No, 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 it wasn't.
the games I've seen him like, he's got a good touch.
Is he?
He's got a good finish. He can header. And look, he puts himself about. He's a yellow card every game. Um,
Yeah.
but I like him.
Yeah, but you like a yellow card striker with the sort, the elbows.
I do, and he's the type of player that we need more of. We need some like horrible players in there, and I think he's got a bit of that in him. And the likes of Devlin for Hearts, those dark arts and those little tackles and those fouls you give away.
Nah.
They can be the difference sometimes between getting you over the line.
Yeah, a bit of aggression.
And
There's
look,
one. Yeah.
Devlin's a lot better than just doing that. But I'm just saying,
No, I know.
players that do that are worth. They can be worth a lot. And I always like Goodwin as well because he would do that, and he would just get his team. He would get St Mirren over the line.
A hatchet man in midfield,
He
basically.
is, he is. But look,
No, I know.
you need a player like that. Um,
So Hibs, so obviously great result and good, great performance as well.
yeah,
Actually, I'm sure it was, you're quite happy to see Neil McCann in the opposing dugout with his head down as well. Um, you now
I
go.
actually don't mind McCann. I actually quite like
Oh,
him.
do you know? Well,
Yeah,
a
no,
lot
I
of,
actually quite like him.
maybe quite a lot of Hibs fans were happy to see that then, as a former Jambo. Um, but yeah, so you're away to Aberdeen this coming weekend. Um, Hearts and Hibs have both got pretty poor records up there. However, they are terrible. They are so bad, it is unbelievable. You're 3 points behind Motherwell, and all joking aside, Motherwell are away to Tynecastle. It is, that is say what you want about Hearts and their form. It's a difficult fixture. Um, you could go level on points. How are you feeling about Pataudry?
Yeah, I, again, our record there isn't great. I think it's been better in recent times
Yeah, no, you
than it
got a
has
win
been
there
over
earlier.
the
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
But yeah,
Certainly wouldn't be going up there saying we're definitely going to win today.
no, but I would back us to win.
Yeah, I think
I'd
that's fair.
back us to win. I
Given
wouldn't be
given how
overly
they've been
confident.
playing,
Huh?
given how Aberdeen have been playing, apart from anything else, because Hibs,
No, they are
let's be
atrocious.
honest,
But again, they're fighting for their lives as well, and they're at home. And I was looking at it as well. Nisbet's got a few goals recently. He would love to,
yeah,
take that selfie again in front of the Aberdeen fans and put it on social media.
Kevin Hibs did. Yeah,
Um,
no, I
but
know, I
I,
know
I,
what
I
you
would
mean.
back us to win. I think we're gonna. I think we'll have enough to beat them. And the the only thing that's kind of playing on my mind a bit is I would have said I know I backed the draw, but you'd look at kind of Hearts Livy on paper, top versus bottom, and you'd think, well, it's a difficult game, but you'd expect Hearts to see it
Oh no,
through.
absolutely.
And again, Livy when we drew with them, how how we didn't win that game.
Well,
So
the other game I was going to point to actually was when we went to Pataudry. We lost 1-0 earlier this season.
mm,
And again, we were in great form. That was actually our first defeat of the season after like 14 or 15 games. Aberdeen, they weren't as bad as they are now, but they were pretty bad. And we had chances. I think we probably should have won, or at the very least got a point. But we certainly had more chances than they did. But we lost, and that's just because that's what Hearts do at Pataudry and have done for the last 10 years.
yeah,
And it's maybe not quite as bad, but it's what Hibs have sort of done as
oh,
well.
it's pretty bad. Our record there is not great either, and
No,
Aberdeen they
so
seem
that's
to
what I mean.
save their big performances against Hibs. And again, I've said this about Aberdeen. On paper, their team's decent. They've Nisbet, they've Stuart Armstrong in there, a couple of okay players. Is it Olasanya they have? Did they
Yeah, and
sign
even
him?
like Shinnie's a clever enough player. I think he's a bit past it these days, but
Yeah, but still,
he looks.
it's a decent enough team.
Yeah, yeah,
But again, momentum. I'm out of 100, about 70 that we're gonna go up there and win.
that's probably fair. That's probably
Yeah.
fair. I honestly think the only reason I think they might not is because of the record at Pataudry. Everything
Yeah.
else points to a Hibs win because whilst you're right, Aberdeen have got some not bad players. Even Mitov, less so this season, but is a decent keeper or has been a decent keeper. Hibs have got better players, I think. They've without their form's not been amazing, but
Yeah.
it's certainly picked up a bit recently.
Yeah.
And Aberdeen are joint. I was looking at the form table. Hibs are a point behind Hearts in it. Aberdeen are joint bottom with 5 from the last 10 games. I mean, it's
Yeah.
terrible. So surely, surely Hibs go and win that, but that's not how football always works.
And I've been there before. I told you I was on the train home from Aberdeen, and it wasn't even half time. 3-0. I think 3-0 a couple of seasons ago. Well, it was more than a couple of seasons ago now, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah.
always sticks in my mind as like one of the most miserable away days I've ever had. And it started off so well. A few drinks on the train, breakfast at the Waverley station,
Yeah.
buzzing. I think we were doing okay at the time, and it was just like
Oh,
three
yeah, yeah, yeah.
3-0 down after like half an hour. I was
Thanks,
like,
Hibs.
thanks very much. I'm off.
um, Hearts Motherwell, Tynecastle. No doubt, like a difficult game. I know Motherwell have dropped a few points recently. I don't think they've been bad. They played okay against Hibs. Well, they played as okay as Hibs did. I don't think it wasn't a particularly great game. Um, they lost to, was it Celtic? They lost to.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Celtic or Rangers now. But either way, like I think if it was Celtic because they went down to 10 men. But both before and after the red card, I thought they were the better team. Sorry. And then at Falkirk, well, to be fair, I think they were quite poor against Falkirk, but it's not like they've completely chucked the towel in or anything like that, or completely lost it. They
No, I
will
think they
still be
just teams are finding how to play against them. I think.
maybe,
I think that
but they're
that's.
also Slattery suspended now. He's got that suspension for what was a pretty horrific dive against St Mirren. Have you
Mm,
seen that when he swings the
that was a
arm
bad one.
so maybe that's having a bigger impact than you realise, or certainly against Falkirk it did. Um, so no, do you know what? We've not beaten Motherwell. We've also not lost to Motherwell. We've had a 3-3 and a 0-0, so opposite ends there. Um, I think we'll do enough to get this one over the line. I don't think I'm going to enjoy it very much. I think it'll be nervy at the end, but I think we'll do enough just to get it over the line. I think like I said, we've got the players back that I wanted back. Okay, that didn't count for much against Livingston. Well, in terms of result, like I say, it's actually one of the better 45 minutes I've seen in a long time, spanning most of the first half and the start to the second half. So I honestly think if we can just not take the foot off the gas, then the game against Livingston will prove to be an overreaction. Um, and Motherwell certainly have a lot less to play for now that they're certainly not in the title race, which they kind of were for a while. They'll want to keep Hibs a bit, Hibs as far enough away as they can, obviously, but that's not quite the same. So yeah, I'm hoping that they've maybe just run out of steam a little bit and we'll do enough to get the victory.
I'm going for a draw.
Aye, I thought you might. Right, on that note, we'll find out if Hibs can turn the record around at Pittodrie and if Hearts can finally get a victory against the only team they're actually yet to beat in the league this season. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.